Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us. I have already called this meeting to order, so we'll start with 2.0. Superintendent Macaluso, do you have any corrections or modifications to the agenda?
Thank you, President Voss. At this time, there are no corrections or modifications to the agenda.
And I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
Second.
I'll call the vote, please.
Ms. Clementi?
Aye.
Mr. Farrell?
Aye.
Judge Mays?
Aye.
Mr. Voss?
Aye.
Dr. Wright?
Aye.
And with that, we'll move right into our reports. Superintendent Macaluso.
Thank you. At this time, I'd like to turn it over to Suzanne Morey, who is Assistant Superintendent of Teaching and Learning, and her team is going to present on the curriculum adoption. Ms. Morey?
Thank you so much, Superintendent Macaluso. President Voss and members of the board, I am pleased to turn this presentation over to Ms. Rhonda Holcomb. Ms. Holcomb is our elementary literacy specialist. She has been working with a team for quite a while now to go through the process of identifying a new 612 literacy curriculum for us. And so she is going to present the work of her team and a final recommendation. Ms. Holcomb.
Thank you, Ms. Morey. Good afternoon, Superintendent Macaluso. Oh, you know what? Let me present. That would help. Apologize. There we go. Are you able to see that?
Yes, we are.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Superintendent Macaluso, President Voss, and members of the board. As Ms. Morey mentioned earlier, my name is Rhonda Holcomb, and I am the District Literacy Specialist. And it is truly my pleasure today to present to you the Secondary English Language Arts adoption for grades 6 through 12. In planning the curriculum and textbook selection of the Secondary English Language Arts adoption, we first ensured that we followed the policies and procedures outlined in file IJJ for textbook selection and adoption. As the task force met, part of our task as outlined in file IJ was to identify and ensure that the resources that we reviewed and are recommending for adoption aligned not only with the Colorado academic standards and prepared our students for the rigor of the SAT, but also aligned with the district strategic plan, particularly Goal 1 under student success. And Goal 1, Objective 1A of our district strategic plan states that we will review and adopt new curriculum materials that align with the rigor of Colorado academic standards, and of course, emphasizing literacy and math. In order to tackle this really important task, we gathered together a group of very skilled educators and stakeholders who convened to review potential curriculum against a really compiled shared list of requirements in order to bring a recommendation to the school board. Crystal Rasmussen, who is our Director of Curriculum and Instructional Programs, and I facilitated the process of the secondary language adoption. In accordance with file IJ, the ALA adoption task force was comprised of both district and school staff. And as you can see, there's a very good balance of administrators and specialists and classroom teachers, as well as teachers and district staff representing exceptional student services, and of course, our CLDE programs. And classroom teachers, as well as teachers and district staff representing exceptional student services, and of course, our CLDE programs. From the beginning of the process, the team members were grounded in the work that we needed to do, and so we really built a great understanding of what high quality instructional materials looked like, as well as making sure that everybody was grounded in the Colorado academic standards for ELA. In addition, we brought in and had the members of the task force become familiar with Ed Reports. And Ed Reports is that think tank of researchers and educators They don't recommend curriculum, but what they do is really help promote smart adoption practices. And so we used them to help us with that grounding of the work, because they look at things such as text quality and building knowledge, usability, and of course, alignment to the standards. In a nutshell, this process actually began last school year in February of 2020. And then due to COVID-19, we had to redesign our timeline, and the task force resumed the process in early November of 2020 of this school year. And the remainder of the process included what you see here, which is the task force reviewed 6 submissions. We went through the whole entire process of reviewing each of those submissions. We came up and identified our top 3 finalists. Then a stakeholder review was given, and the public had 3 opportunities to virtually review those top 3 finalists and provide feedback. For the stakeholders, we offered those 3 sessions on different days and at different times, because we really wanted to make sure that we included as many parents and students and staff and community members as possible. Because it was a virtual stakeholder review, we used Nearpod as our platform, and we had some really great feedback from the people who participated. Then our 3 finalists gave our task force virtual presentations of the products, professional development, and materials. And finally, we have a recommendation that we believe will promote the success for our students and our teachers. The recommendation from the task force was to select 1 publisher for grades 6 through 12, and their recommendation was for Houghton Mifflin Harcourt into literature for grades 6 through 12. The HMH into literature really provides a very comprehensive set of both in-person and digital materials and professional development that meets the needs of our students and our teachers. And in the next few slides, I'm going to provide you with some of the information behind the why of their recommendation. Similar to our elementary literacy adoption, we also brought you information from Ed Reports with the literacy adoption for elementary, and we're doing the same thing for middle school. Here you're going to see 6th, 7th, and 8th grade all meet the criteria from Ed Reports. And that's, again, really looking at high standards. We want to make sure that the material that we put in front of our students and that our teachers are going to be using is really high quality materials. And so again, that is why we look at Ed Reports to help give us that additional information. For high school, grades 9th through 12th, HMH also met all of the criteria within Ed Reports. While the members of the task force, we were really looking at strong curriculum that was designed for that in-person experience. One of the attributes that was part of our shared requirements was that capacity for digital learning. So the learning that includes digital technology, and in addition provides online materials for both our teachers and our students. In the digital component for both teachers and students, we know that there are many additional materials and information available that might not be available in the print version. So for example, there's links to videos and blogs and other types of virtual materials that are included in the digital components that a student or teacher might not see in the print materials. And so for example, you'll see a couple of examples here on the slide. In the digital components, the teacher has the ability to project or share their screen for that I do and the we do part of the lesson. And then when moving into the you do, or the independent practice for students, the students they can read, they can highlight, they can annotate, they can write themselves notes about the text, and really have that ability to interact with some of those virtual media components. Next, there is something that's called Writable, and the Writable is a digital support that guides students through the writing process. The teachers are able to give feedback to the students immediately, and Writable also allows for Google Docs and for Google Classroom integration. And in addition, Writable supports our CLDE students and practice with WIDA assessment aligned assignments that contain prompts and scaffolds and rubrics that are really taken from the WIDA consortium standards. Assessments are embedded and aligned throughout the curriculum. There's benchmark assessments that are administered 3 times per year as a measure of student growth. There are formative assessments. There are some diagnostic assessments that are available, with all of that data being able to be viewed by our teachers and on the student side as well, in various different types of reports. Now, Into Literature also offers a variety of project-based learning ideas to help tap into our students' creativity and digital expertise. It also helps increase student engagement. So the assessments don't always have to be a paper pencil assessment. There's digital extension activities and project-based learning options that allow students to really demonstrate their understanding of the standards and their knowledge in a different way. There's also social and emotional learning concepts that are woven throughout the lessons, and teachers have different options as how to embed those activities into different lessons within HMH. For our diverse learning needs students, there are again optional strategies that can be used. And there's quite a few of them that are offered to teachers and to students for maybe some of our students who need additional support or additional scaffolds, or even our students who need to be challenged. And so for some of our students, there are printable, leveled texts that are available at a different range of Lexile levels that still align to the content of that core lesson. There are alternate tasks that are available for teachers and students that still relate to the theme within that unit and to the essential questions. And so, for example, you'll see some of them on this slide. There are ideas for when students struggle. Here's some ideas on what you can do for that. When a teacher has students who need an additional challenge, here are some ideas and activities that can help you with that. For our CLDE students, there are quite a few options and supports that are available. And the good thing is that while we know that all students can benefit from these types of supports and scaffolds, we know that in particular that our CLDE students need very specific supports and scaffolds because they need to actually work on their English language acquisition as well as content. So they're very specific about the supports that we offer our CLDE students. And here's a sample of what that looks like. There's something that are called text sketch printables. And that's really a visual and text-based summary that really will help students who grapple with some complex text. And the outcome is still the same. There's still going to be a summary of the text, but because of the visual representations and the sentence starters, it really makes it easy for our students to be able to complete the same type of assignment, but with those scaffolds and supports that are available for our students. There's read-along highlighting with audio. There's Spanish summaries that are available of some of the text and the core reading as well that outlines those key texts and ideas. There are multilingual glossaries and very specific support for teachers because teachers need to be able to have the information and the knowledge about how to not only activate background knowledge for our CLDE students, but also how to build that background knowledge so that our students have something to anchor that new information to and make the comprehension easier for them. For our striving learners, as a tier 2 support for our students, there are different supports available for that as well. HMH offers what is called an intervention and review studio. The supplemental intervention materials can be used either as reteach for whole group or small group or individual students based off of the needs of the students. And so, for example, there are what are called peer coach videos. And those peer coach videos are made by students, specifically designed to be used for our students, especially when there's some challenging skills that are involved, because sometimes we know that students relate better to other students, especially when there's a challenging skill that comes about. And so the students then will be able to watch these videos that are really kind of model exemplar conversations, and then be able to apply that information into a very specific practice page or specially designed text, which will allow those students to have additional practice and at-bats so that they can get to a level of mastery within those skills and those standards. Now we know that teacher feedback is important and critical, not only as members of the task force, but also because we want to ensure that implementation is successful for both teachers and for students. So today we do have 2 English language arts teachers that we've brought here today to help give you some additional information as seen from their side. We have with us Terry Pacheco, who is the Department ELA Chair at East International Baccalaureate High School. And after Terry, we have Mr. Mark Slack, who is a 7th grade ELA teacher at Roncalli STEM Academy, who will give you some additional information from the middle school perspective. So first, if we could have Terry Pacheco go ahead and give you some information, point of view, and feedback. Terry?
Hello. Good afternoon, Superintendent Macaluso, President Voss, members of the board. My name is Terry Pacheco, teacher at East High School. I've been with the district for over 30 years, so I've been through a few textbook adoptions. I'm so excited for this new adoption. Boy, we've waited quite some time for it. I'm going to talk a lot about what Rhonda said. I'm going to hit upon 5 points that I feel stand out the most with HMH into literature. First of all, the lessons and assessments, they're customizable. So this gives us choices and flexibility as we get to know our students. The readings they may like, prefer more so. Second was that the reading selections are culturally relevant with diverse writers. There's many. Let's see. The assessments, they include the formative, the benchmark, the summative, and the last, I don't want to say it's the most important thing I want to mention, but the social emotional learning section, when we were first introduced to that, when we were doing the going through the adoption process, I felt this is a perfect time for that, both virtual and in person. It's so hard to, right now, when we see them very little, to get to know our students like we once were able to. And I feel this will be such a big benefit for them. Also, so those were some important points that I would say would be support the success of students as well as the teachers. Just the fact that we're going to get a new textbook, sorry. Second, I want to talk about how at East we plan to align the new curriculum with our unit plans. We've been anxiously waiting. I haven't told the department which book we're looking into, which publishing company, but we do need to rewrite our units. So this would be the perfect time to rewrite them with a new textbook. There's different components in the unit planner, and of course, it will all align to the standards, focusing on real world connections, being IB. And sorry, that was quick, but any questions?
No. Okay, thank you, Terry.
Yes, thank you.
Mark, if you are ready, if you could please join us.
Absolutely. Thank you, Rhonda. Hello, Superintendent Macaluso, President Voss, members of the board. My name is Mark Slack. I am a 7th grade ELA instructor at Roncalli, project manager for our food and farming project that we launched at the beginning of this quarter, and also the Friday school administrator. Our vision here at Roncalli is that the RSA Wolfpack empowers lifelong STEAM learners to excel academically, embrace their authentic selves, and become innovative community leaders. I wanted to just take a couple of minutes to talk about, one, how this adoption process went for me personally, and highlight some of the key points in the curriculum, and also note how it relates to our STEAM program here at Roncalli. The process overall the adoption process was wonderful. I actually feel really fortunate to have had the opportunity to work on this team. I think at times it was an exercise in patience, a lot of critical thinking and debate. And I realize now how high the stakes are when adopting a new curriculum. I think about the fact that this is something that affects every student, every teacher, and every school in the district in one way or another, and not something to be taken lightly. And although I think this process was necessarily lengthy, it worked really well in the end. I think for me personally, what worked well was having the time to really read and consider each proposal, and also to be able to view the materials that were available online. We were given clear instructions on what kinds of things to look for, but also had the ability to make other notes and comments that concern the material. And once each of us had pored over each proposal, we spent much time as a group comparing, debating the pros and cons of each. I think this step was imperative. This is what brought together everyone's perspectives, gave everyone far more viewpoints to consider than any of us alone ever would have. And this was perhaps the most critical piece of our decision. I can say that even my mind was changed after viewing some of the vendor presentations and listening to some of my colleagues' thoughts. And truthfully, I believe that any well thought out process should allow the participants to change their mind after carefully considering the viewpoints of everyone. So another key question I had to answer and think about was, how does this curriculum into literature support students and teachers? And there's many. So I've narrowed it down to 10. I'll give you really quickly. This curriculum is really intuitive in its digital and print form. It has high quality, diverse text, which also means diverse perspectives. Pardon me. There's continual opportunities for students to write, analyze, evaluate, and reflect. This houses a huge interactive online literature collection. The teachers will have planning tools and a lot more adaptability, allowing them more time to do what they do best and most, which is what they love to do the best, which is to teach. The levels of differentiation are customizable to every single student, not some students, but I mean all students. There's on-demand instructional videos available 24/7. We have tons and tons of learning and teaching data for both students and teachers, really high level ELL support. And something that I was looking at actually just a week ago, there's something called a family room, which brings families and caregivers together and actually allows them to monitor their child's progress, explore resources, and even do some of the learning together. So the last thing I had to think about was then, well, how does this relate to our STEAM program at Roncalli? And I think one of the obvious ways is in its integration of really varied and vast subject matter and material into the readings it provides. The activities are equally varied. This allows students to produce deliverables, and engage in really meaningful projects. I looked at a site the other day that I'm fond of taking a peek at once in a while. It's the Institute for Arts Integration and STEAM. And they noted that having a thoughtful arts and humanities curriculum like this will result in students who take thoughtful risks, engage in experiential learning, persist in problem solving, embrace collaboration, and work through the creative process. We have to remember these are the innovators, the educators, the leaders, and learners of the 21st century. So I think not only does this fit really well with our school's vision, it also fits really well with our STEAM vision. We recently launched a food and farming program at Roncalli, which I co-designed with another instructor. And we worked in conjunction with the Pueblo Food Project and Lisa Wachtel, who's a master gardener and curriculum designer. And this is the largest scale project that we've ever done here. And when I think about the success that this program has had already in terms of its innovation, its collaboration, student engagement, I had to really consider, not just what curriculum would support and enhance our vision, but whether or not now if that curriculum could keep up with the pace and inventiveness that we have as a school. And this one will certainly do that. And I am hopeful you feel the same and am looking for your support today. Thank you.
Thank you, Mark and Terry. And I hope that the members of the school board were as excited to hear from teachers as we are. It's a wonderful thing. So we're very glad to have them as part of our presentation today. We're almost done, so I'm going to close out with just a couple more slides, just to give you additional information on the professional development and support that is available. Mr. Slack did mention some of that information as far as PD being available 24/7 to really help our teachers who might need some additional support, not only in HMH and that implementation, but also on things like best practices for instruction. We do have getting started sessions, which will be offered in August, as well as follow-up sessions, teacher and coaching videos and learning modules, and online professional development, which will really be used, and we're really going to be targeting our department chairs and our literacy leads in the schools so that they can become their school specialists in the area of implementation and professional development in HMH as well. With the adoption of HMH into literature, we would be purchasing 5 years of consumable materials as well as teacher and student digital licenses, teacher and student materials, and professional development for approximately $900,000. In addition, as the budget allows, we do have a small amount of funds available in the curriculum budget. And we are currently in the process of exploring some tier 3, which is that intensive intervention materials that align with HMH into literature in order to provide that additional intervention support for our students, especially in the middle school level, and making sure that our ESS students have access to that intervention as well. So we are requesting that the District 60 Board of Education approve the recommendation of the committee to adopt HMH into literature for grades 6 through 12. On the March board meeting consent agenda, we will be asking for the approval of the expenditure and the contract agreement. Are there any questions that you would like to make or ask of any members of our team?
Dr. Wright, do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions, but I just have a couple comments. One, I just know that this is a grueling process, and I appreciate so much the time that you and the staff and the others in the community spent looking at the materials. And I'm so excited to see even the comment about the tier 3, how you're looking into that. I'm excited to see that we're looking at more than just education with the letter of the law, but we're looking at the spirit of the child as well. We're looking at the teachers and those assistants. So I was glad to see the cultural relevance, the social emotional, the alignment with the curriculum, the digital print. There's so much I was writing copious notes while you guys were talking. But I just want to congratulate Superintendent and her staff and team for bringing forth something that, again, is going to help to provide the education we know our children deserve. So thank you, Ms. Holcomb, and your team, all of you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge Mace?
I share what Dr. Wright just said. Fantastic work that you folks are doing. It's exciting. I've mentioned a couple of times now that I'm a little bit too old to be either with either of the teachers that we had on here, but it's an exciting time to be in school, and I can't tell you how much I appreciate what you're doing for all the kids in D60.
Thank you.
Mr. Farrell?
I had a question that I'd written down during the presentation, but Ms. Pacheco answered it. So first, I really appreciated hearing from Ms. Pacheco and Mr. Slack. It's good to have that input. My question was about cultural relevance in the materials, and if there was good diversity of literature and producers of literature. So thank you for addressing that. There, much like Dr. Wright said, there were a lot of things that I wrote down that were sticking out to me during that presentation, and I appreciated hearing some of those echoed by the teachers in their feedback as well. So I'm glad to know that I was picking out the right things. I also Ms. Holcomb and everyone involved in spearheading the process. Thank you for making it an inclusive process, even in the midst of the challenges of the pandemic, and finding a way to still make it work. I know it was probably a little challenging with the hiccup in the middle of it, but thank you for making it happen. I was excited about the digital learning components. Those are going to be increasingly important. The slide about the project-based learning gave me some flashbacks to some movies that I made in high school in literature class. So I'm excited about those because those stick out in my memory. The social emotional context and helping making this material inclusive and accessible to students is really exciting. And Mr. Slack, thank you for your great insight into the process and your experience with it. It really helps to know what the process was like for a teacher too. So basically, to sum up everything that I'm saying, I'm excited. I'm with Judge Mays that I almost want to be a student so that I can go to this class with this curriculum. So thank you, everyone, for your presentation and for all the work that went into making this recommendation.
Thank you.
Ms. Clementi.
Thank you. First, I echo and agree with all of the comments made so far. So rather than repeat all of that, I'll just have a couple questions. One is, does this adoption include actual printed textbooks, or is it all a digital presentation?
So it's available, Ms. Clementi, both ways. For the first year, we'll receive the hardbound textbooks, the novels, and the consumables. And then every year after this, for the remainder of the 4 years that are left, the students and teachers will receive the consumable materials, and then, of course, the digital licenses that come with the digital components for both the teachers and the students.
Terrific. Thank you. And then in year 6, if it's appropriate, can we continue to purchase those consumables?
Obviously, that would be a yes.
Okay.
We need to make sure, and if there was an update in the copyright or something like that, that might make a small difference. But otherwise, that's always an option.
Good. I noticed on the 6 through 8 version that Ed Reports gave HMH a 31 out of 34 for usability. It was a 32 and 33 for the high school. But do you have any insight or idea about why that would have been?
From what I remember, and again, that's just a few weeks ago as well, there were a couple of glitches with some of the digital components that since then have been fixed.
Cool. Thank you. Thank you. I did attend one of your virtual stakeholder reviews and was very impressed with the process, and honestly with this particular offering. I have been on textbook adoption and review committees with Ms. Pacheco in the past, and know certainly the care that goes into this kind of a choice. So thank you for the process, for following it. Thank you to Ms. Pacheco and Mr. Slack for being here and for their work in maintaining the process and making this all work. Lastly, a question for Mrs. Macaluso, or maybe, well, Mrs. Macaluso, and that's simply a reminder that we do have money encumbered or budgeted for this kind of adoption, do we not?
That is correct, Board Member Clementi. Yeah, we have our curriculum sequence, curriculum adoption plan.
So it's set aside and it is budgeted. Mrs. Holcomb, thank you very much. Good luck. Our students and our teachers, all of our educators should have a good time with this new offering. Thank you.
Thank you.
And no other questions for me, but I'm excited as well. And I just want to say thank you to you for all of your work, and thank you to the task force as well.
Thank you. Again, really thanking the task force. The number of hours that was put into this was tremendous. And even now with Ms. Pacheco and Mr. Slack, having to get some coverage for their classrooms and their buildings, that's appreciated from us to their principals and the people they work with as well.
Thank you, Ms. Holcomb, for your presentation, for your leadership. Also extend a special thank you to Crystal Rasmussen and Suzanne Maury. We really appreciate the process. It's a very in-depth, comprehensive process, and I know that you've had to innovate quite a bit because of COVID. I appreciate so much the voices of our experts. Thank you, Ms. Pacheco and Mr. Slack. There's no more valuable voice than the experts that we have in the building. And so we're so excited for our teachers and super excited for our students if they have the opportunity for a new curriculum. So thank you for your work.
Thank you.
Okay, with that, we'll move to the 2021-2022 district-run online school task force.
Thank you. So at this time, Suzanne Maury will give us an update on her online school task force. I think it's going quite well. Ms. Maury?
Yes, we are making tremendous progress. We've been meeting consistently every single week. We've continued to collect input on questions, most recently around even grading options, what flexibility should teachers have, our licensed endorsed teachers, to be able to add to the curriculum or assist students in moving through the curriculum. We have received 3 viable platform curriculums that we will be reviewing. We're spending the better part of tomorrow to do that in depth as a team. And then we'll be narrowing that down to 1 or 2 finalists before having that available to our community. We've recently put a survey out to our families of students who are currently fully online to ask their intention at this time, not a commitment, just their thoughts around whether they want us to hold a seat, an in-person seat at their current school, or if at this time they believe they're interested in considering a transfer to the new K-12 online school. We've received feedback back from many folks, but still really are hoping we will get more people to respond to that survey by the time it closes on Monday evening. But we are seeing that there are some families across all levels who at this time are saying they might be interested. We have gotten some feedback just informally from different parents saying they just don't feel that they're ready yet to make even an initial decision to share that. Just some of the questions we're getting is they really want to wait to see what in-person instruction is going to look like, where are we, etc. So at some point we will have to ask for a formal transfer request from them, but hoping many will be able to let us know by Monday. That can be found on Parent Portal. The survey is on the Parent Portal of the parents whose students are fully online right now. So we ask if you're out there listening, if that applies to you and you're willing, if you could answer that survey, that would be super helpful. Also, just wanted to let you know that we had a small group from our committee meet recently with leaders in the Colorado Department of Education regarding the process for application, clarifying some characteristics of what needs to be in the plan for the school design, to make sure that we are well prepared to present an application that is very strong. So that's where we are at this time.
Dr. Wright, any questions?
I do not have any questions at this time. Thank you, Ms. Maury.
Judge Mays?
I've had the privilege and the pleasure to sit on this particular committee, and I think I almost gave Superintendent Macaluso a heart attack at the very outset of this particular project when I said I was excited, but I was scared, and for good reason. It was a huge undertaking. But I will tell you this, that I am absolutely convinced now, with the quality of work that's gone into the preparation up to this point in time, that the scared part of me is gone. It's not there. The committee has been outstanding in terms of being very thorough in its discussion of everything. There's been pushback when we've had pushback, and then moved on with consensus of the group. We even got a really pretty good tutorial a couple of nights ago, I think it was, on what to expect for our 5 or 6 hour meeting tomorrow, so that we're already prepared to go into that without having to have that explained to us once again. So this group, including the students and parents that have been on it, have been absolutely fantastic, and I have no question whatsoever but that the product that we're going to roll out is going to be one of high quality and is really going to be another option for the children of D60 to avail themselves of. So thank you for the opportunity to serve on this committee.
Board members, you should be forewarned that if you indicate that you're afraid or scared, you earn your spot on the task force. So, Judge, we appreciate the time. I know that it's a lot of time. In fact, you're going to be meeting for 5 or 6 hours tomorrow. So we do appreciate lending your expertise to the task force.
Mr. Farrell?
I don't have any questions. Thank you for the update, Mrs. Maury.
Ms. Clementi?
I appreciate the update and thank you. I just want to note that the curriculum that's chosen is crucial and to this kind of a program, of course. So I appreciate the time and the precision that will go into that kind of review. And I wonder if you've looked into what digital curriculums are in use in with other schools, particularly those that are in our neighborhood. I'd be interested in perhaps later on that kind of information, and that I don't know if you have it right now, Ms. Maury, but at some point I think that might be interesting. And so at this point, I don't have any further questions, but I appreciate, again, all the care and planning that is going into this new project. It's also exciting. Thank you.
And Ms. Clementi, we'll definitely bring that to you. Just so that you know, that was even part of our initial review. What are the curricula that are out there being used, even before we finished writing the RFP? That was part of our exploration, but
Great.
We can bring the specifics back to you.
Just an email is fine.
Okay, we can do that.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Maury, for the update. We'll move now to future school construction planning.
Thank you, President Voss. At this time, I would like for you to hear from my team. I think Dave Horner and Bob Lawson and Suzanne Maury will do a joint presentation. I think that our district is in a position to be able to build possibly a fifth school building. And so we want to launch that proposal to you at this time. Is Dave Horner going to start us off?
Yes, I'm going to start. Good afternoon.
I don't see you, Dave. Do you have your camera on?
Yes. Am I there?
I'm just seeing a phone number in the middle.
I don't see you, so, but maybe others do.
Yes, we do.
I did. Well,
There you
I
are.
do.
There you go.
Am I on now?
Yep, we can see and hear you.
All right. So with this proposal, I think one of the key factors is there's no additional cost for our taxpayers, and it's all within the current bond structure. Just starting out there. We have three different kind of funding sources that we're looking at to make this become a reality. We've had it during our competitive bidding processes on our current bond projects. We've been very successful in generating some savings in a lot of the projects. And last meeting, you approved the GMP on Centennial and East. So we now have a defined amount to work with that. So we have some funds that we've generated from the savings that need to be used within the scope of the bond. We also, if you remember back when we sold the bonds, to get a investment structure that our investors wanted to invest in, we received some premiums. So we are proposing to use some of those premiums along with the savings. And then also we invested all of our bond proceeds, and they are never allocated up front because you don't know what you're going to have until you get it. And so as we've been making investment returns, then we have the ability to spend those, and they can only be spent for the exact same bond project scope. So with those three items, we are proposing that we can spend $30 million on this proposal that Suzanne is going to explain to you here in a few minutes. It's a kit of parts prototype design. Since we have all of this expertise that we've just gone through with 2 new high schools and 2 elementaries, we don't have to do as much new design and everything. So that helps us be more efficient as we're going through. And Bob and Suzanne will talk more about that. So very excited to propose this for you. And I'm going to turn it over to Bob to talk more about it.
Good afternoon, Superintendent Macaluso, President Voss, and members of the board. The site that we're considering for this new school is the former Heroes site. This is a very large property, 14 acres. The school has already been demolished. We have an existing auxiliary gym already in place. We have a football field and track, basketball courts, and a large shade gazebo structure that are already on this site. We believe that pursuing a new school construction project would be a great use of our surplus funds. This is really an investment into our school facilities for the next 50 years. This is a building that's going to last a very, very long time. And we believe that that is a terrific approach for the use of these funds. Really the last thing, just for that reassurance, this is not going to have any impact on any of our existing projects. We have and continue to have surplus funds between the premiums, as Mr. Horner stated, as well as savings in our projects, that we're going to be able to complete all of our projects, add this new school into the conversation, and in all likelihood still have some surplus after that to address more building deficiencies in the later years of the bond program. And so with that, I'll turn this over to Assistant Superintendent Maury so she can give you much more detail.
Thank you so much. Just give me a moment to share my screen. Okay, can everybody see that?
Yes, we can.
Terrific. President Voss, Superintendent Macaluso, and members of the board, I am so very excited to be able to share an educational design plan with you for the proposed new school number 5. To capitalize on something means to take advantage of a situation. To capitalize also means to take advantage of an opportunity. And that's exactly what we're proposing. With the passing of the 2020 bond, Pueblo citizens supported the building of 2 new D60 comprehensive high schools. And several months later, we found out D60 was the recipient of 2 BEST grants, which enabled us to also build 2 new elementary schools. Pueblo District 60 received favorable bids, as was shared with you, on the existing 2020 bond projects, allowing for savings. And by combining that savings from the bids and the extra premiums generated at the sale of the bonds, D60 now has this incredible opportunity to build a 5th new school for D60 students, staff, and families. For efficiency purposes, the new build process would need to start in early spring of this year, 2021, so we could finish all construction within our next 3-year time window. We would propose, as Mr. Lawson shared, that new school number 5 be built on the former Heroes site. The old Heroes site has been prioritized for several reasons. First, this site does not require any additional demolition, which is definitely a cost savings. And the 14-acre site has ample space for both a state-of-the-art school building and substantial athletic fields, playground, and the possibility of outdoor educational environments. The current site has the auxiliary gym and track and field already on the property. That further reduces costs. And it was shared with you already that we would be using a kit of parts design using the prototype components from the new elementary and high school builds. So these cost reductions really play a critical role in being able to even fund this proposed project. Here are architectural renderings on the existing Hero site to give you just an idea of what this 14-acre site might be able to accommodate. So you can see a sample design school there in white. You can see the different play fields surrounding it, the parking area in the front, and then possibly what the front of the school might look like down on your lower right picture. Here's a south aerial perspective and a north aerial perspective. We would like to propose a K-8 enrollment configuration for new school number 5. This would ensure that our newest school serves students at all academic levels, so elementary, middle, and high. New school number 5 is proposed to be a school of choice. D60 families currently have limited access to choose a K-8 instructional configuration, and we know that the K-8 model, in which students continue their education from elementary through middle school in the same building, has been sought after by some of our D60 parents, as evidenced by enrollment and choice applications that we receive for Goodnight K-8 each year. A new K-8 building with a specialized programmatic model and a state-of-the-art building will also help D60 retain current students during the middle school years. And in this location, it would provide Centennial with a feeder middle school. To fit within the guidelines of board policy, we would design for approximately 750 students over time, but initially may only build a 650 to 675 enrollment building with the potential of extra classroom construction space identified in the initial school design. New school number 5 will provide an opportunity to serve K-8 students from across the entire district. Previous experience has taught us that the full benefits of a K-8 configuration work best when the school norms and culture and those foundational programmatic routines and rituals are built in the earliest grades, and then they're just carried smoothly into the middle school years with minimal enrollment disruption. So adding large numbers of new middle school students, for example, can be challenging to a culture or a system that's already in place. And so therefore, we would recommend that the new school number 5 open year 1 with grades K through 6, and then grow into the full K-8 enrollment during years 2 and 3. Our hope is that this school of choice would serve students from all over the district, and therefore would only minimally disrupt the enrollments at our fine D60 schools already serving this particular neighborhood. And in order to provide equitable choice access to this specialty programmatic model, we could explore limited transportation based on identified need to those who might qualify. The proposed educational program is grounded in an expeditionary learning model and has us partnering closely with EL Education in the formation of a school-wide design and approach to learning. In an expeditionary learning school, the definition of student success combines academic achievement, character, and high-quality work. Academic success is built on strong character qualities that include collaboration, perseverance, responsibility, and compassion. And that character is shaped through the engaging and challenging academic work. Teachers and learners are both actively learning and engaging in expeditionary learning classrooms. Effective instructional practices promote equity and high expectations. This transforms the classroom into a laboratory of sorts, making the content of expeditions come alive. This active learning ensures that all students think and participate, and it allows the teacher to get to know the students and understand their thinking styles better. Knowledge of each student's learning level of understanding and participation leads teachers to differentiate instruction and improve the quality of learning on an individual basis. In expeditionary learning, school culture is developed and it's sustained through practices that bring a community together, promoting shared understandings and encouraging all community members to become a team. And in expeditionary learning, they call that team a crew. Continuously working as a crew continues to move the entire program forward. Building educational teams allows for that important relationship building, academic progress monitoring, and character development. Crews allow students to build positive connections, not only with their peers, but also with their crew leader, their teachers. Grounded in an exploratory hands-on philosophy of instruction, school number 5 will align its experiential learning opportunities to the career and technical education CTE wheel, that career cluster pathway wheel. K-8 students in new school number 5 will explore career pathways and their world through these expeditions and project-based learning opportunities, including field trips and guest speakers. Over the course of 9 years, students will explore options, interests, and the world through exposure to different career-related problems of practice and the world of work. Students will begin to think about what world problems they may want to solve in their future, and more importantly, how they might go about solving them and impacting a field of study. CTE-themed learning expeditions will engage K-8 students in hands-on experiences that support a developmentally appropriate understanding of content and the connection of that content to their world. So for example, in kindergarten, students may begin to explore different jobs like a firefighter, a teacher, a food service worker, etc. And they might answer an essential question such as, how does this particular job benefit me and my family? At the elementary level, students might learn about past and future careers within the Pueblo community. So for example, students might explore the history of Pueblo Steel Mill and the relationship it has to future manufacturing, construction, and transportation industries. Or they might explore the field of healthcare and the important role our Pueblo hospitals have played during the pandemic, or in supporting cancer research and treatment options. Once in middle school, expeditions will connect directly to a specific area of the Colorado Career Cluster model. Sixth graders might experience CTE-themed expeditions focused on criminal justice and law, public safety, and cybersecurity. Seventh graders might explore the health science career pathway, including health information, diagnostic services, and biomedicine. And eighth graders might spend the first semester exploring hospitality, food service industries, and/or business marketing, with the second semester focused on a more individualized capstone project in which students are placed into teams to explore a particular career pathway of their choosing. Building a new state-of-the-art K-8 school with a CTE-themed expeditionary learning instructional model will provide a unique learning opportunity for the students at New School Number 5. Not only will our youngest students be housed in a beautiful new building, but their K-8 education will also expose them to the career options ahead of them, which could serve as an on-ramp to the concurrent enrollment CTE pathways we currently offer in our comprehensive high schools here in D60. New School Number 5 will also provide a unique opportunity for D60 teachers to truly own their teaching as they work with their colleagues to customize EL expeditions, and in time to even develop their own expeditions aligned to the specific interests of our Pueblo K-8 scholars. By connecting our D60 students to local, Colorado, national, and international career options, we will truly prepare our youngest students to begin the important journey of living a life of purpose and impact. So at this time, I'd like to open the floor for questions, discussion that you may have of our team, and any feedback you might have regarding this exciting proposal.
Thank you, Ms. Mori. Dr. Wright, any questions or comments?
Thank you, President Voss. Miss Mori. Oh my goodness, I'm just elated. You know me, I get teary-eyed. Just elated about, the New School Number 5, and particularly for that community, because it was a loss to have a school, missing in that area, so to speak. So I'm so glad with this proposal, we're able to increase the parity for the students in that area of our city. I just have a few questions, but first I want to say congratulations to Mr. Lawson, Mr. Horner, to everyone that helped make this possible. It is absolutely amazing. And it just shows the care that we're using with the funds and the decision making to be able to have those premiums from the bonds, to be able to have the savings. And I'm just excited. I'll probably do my flip in a minute, but not on camera. But I am, because again, for our community, it shows that we care and that we're trying to meet the needs of our students and our families in our community and our business owners. Because to have a CTE component in this school means that we'll be able to bridge the need in Pueblo for certain occupations. And that speaks well to the kids that go on to higher ed as well. I do have some questions, just a couple of, tell me how you address the K-8. Again, you have more knowledge about this as far as I'm concerned, but tell me how you address the population of K-5 in the same building with the 6th through 8th graders, because we know age-wise a big discrepancy. So how are we going to ensure that little Johnny boy over here is going to be okay with Mr. Johnny boy over here? Thank you.
So a couple things come to my mind. And Dr. Wright, I have been a leader in different K-8 buildings, and they work very, very well. The key is creating those foundational routines, rituals, and understanding about how we live and learn in our building together. And that carries directly into the middle school. And I would say middle school grades, because it really is a K-8 philosophy. It feels different than just an elementary school or just a middle school. There are opportunities often for the older students to work with the younger students, to have those role models of the older students. I have found that it's important to have at specific times those rites of passage in a K-8 model, because it's a long period of time. So once you hit a certain point, maybe you get additional privileges, or you move to this area of the building, or you can explore this particular outdoor lab or something like that. So I think you need to be thoughtful about that, but it's a model that works very, very well. I do think we need to think about the design of the building in that way as well, to make sure that we are serving our smallest students, our kindergarten students. They need playgrounds, for example, that are designed for them. But then the outdoor spaces for a middle school athletics needs to look different. So you do need to be thoughtful, but the design works quite well.
Okay,
Those are all key elements. Thank you, Ms. Maury. I think the beauty of building a new building is that we would be able to specifically and intentionally build the design around a K-8 model.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Just one other question. Clarify for me the students attending this school, because I heard you say school of choice. I just want to ensure that there's some type of priority given to the neighborhood students. I just don't want them to get booted out because others are rushing to come to this new school, and those that we're trying to serve that community are again left out. Thank you.
Understood. It is important for our neighborhood students to be able to access that building if that's of interest to them. We currently have a choice application process that provides different weights for different descriptors. And so we would be very thoughtful about how we might want to add a weight if the student is currently living in the neighborhood. So it will be very important, agreed with you, that our neighborhood students can attend, as well as an opportunity for students who might live across the city.
Well, I appreciate that very much, because I am concerned about the students in that area as well. But I also can appreciate other students having the option to come as well. But I just want to make sure we serve the needs of the students in that community. Thank you again. And a great idea. And I also didn't comment, but I love the idea of the whole new learning model that we'll be implementing in our program. So kudos, kudos, kudos. Thank you all so much.
Judge Mays.
Thank you, President Voss. Question for Dave Horner. Dave, obviously, when we started out on this trek some time ago, we put together a package that we took to the community, and they were gracious to pass it. And at that time, we based the ask that we had on the information from all of our experts as to what it would cost in order to build 2 brand new high schools. And it's blossomed since then. And quite frankly, I think one of the reasons it's blossomed is we've proven here in D60 that you don't have to go outside the school and you don't have to go outside the community to find good managers that are going to take care of your needs. And Mr. Horner and Mr. Lawson and their team have just done a fantastic job in terms of being outstanding stewards of the money that the great citizens of Pueblo were willing to entrust us with. But could you explain to me, Mr. Horner, and perhaps for others, what do you mean about premiums? It seems to me like we asked, this is just a rough thing, okay? We asked for $20 and we ended up getting $25 or something like that. So can you kind of explain that the financial process on that?
So premiums, an investor, primarily you sell these bonds to large investors, banks, insurance companies, and those type of people. They want to see a portfolio that has a certain interest rate on it, say 5% on the coupon. But the market is really only going to give you 2.5% or 3%. And so they're willing to pay additional money up front to get that higher interest rate. That's where the premiums are generated. In the markets, say 20 years ago, they would actually pay less than par value for the bonds. And so it's all just a market component that drives this. Because when I did some of the units that we sold out in Oregon, we actually got less than par value. So it's just how the markets are looking at the investments and things is how it's generated.
The bond language is pretty specific as to where the money needs to go. And I'll just ask this question. That money has to be used for the specific language that was used in the bond. We can't take $30 million and put it in a savings account and say, hey, we'll use it later on if we need it for something. Is that accurate?
That is accurate. We have to be very specific, follow the language of what the voters approved. And we are following the language and did have our bond counsel review it to make sure that we were following the bond language.
And just a couple of comments. I too am excited about this K8. We now have we will have a K8 out on the south side, and now we'll have a K8 out on the north side. And I think that's a really good mixture there. And I'm excited about the fact that our people were very cognizant of the fact that we might need that land at some time in the future, and we're going to have a use for it much sooner than we ever thought. But we have some existing structures out there that have really benefited it, and I'm really pleased to see that. And again, that goes to the stewardability of the people that are managing this project. I too am excited about the fact that we're going to have a CTE component to this. You folks know that at the time we were getting ready to demolish Heroes, that there were certain members of the community that offered up that this could, maybe we could turn it into a CTE school and the whole bit. Well, the cost, it was cost prohibitive at that time because of the structure that we were talking about. But now we're going to not only be able to offer the CTE, but it will be state of art stuff that will really benefit our students. And I mentioned, and I think I'm using this term right, IPAC. Is that right, Ms. Macaluso? IPAC? ICAP.
Yes,
yeah,
ICAP.
Yeah, I keep getting all my letters all mixed up here, but it takes me back to several years ago when I had an opportunity to be at one of the a fair out at Risley, and kids were exploring different areas that they might be interested in, and I recall even then at that time students coming up and say, well, I'm really interested in this particular area. And in talking with them, what's it? Well, let's look at my ICAP here. I've got all these things here set up, and I think it's going to be great for these kids to see that they have this state of art CTE, if that's the way they go, or if it's college track or whatever it is. But they're going to be able to see specifically that, hey, you can go from here now in the 6th, 7th grade in this plan that you have. When you're out of the 8th grade, you're going into a high school that's going to be able to pick that up without missing a beat. And I'm really, really excited about that. And thank you all for the great work that you folks have done on this. And man, I don't know, being able to turn the project that we started out into 5 brand new schools of all levels in Pueblo is just a testament to the hard work that's gone in to this planning project. Mr. Lawson, way back from the master facilities master plan and all of that other stuff that wasn't just yesterday. That was 5, 6, 7, 8 years ago. So I just can't tell you how excited I am about this. Thank you for all the hard work. Thank you, Ms. Maury.
Mr. Farrell.
Thank you all for the presentation. A lot to take in, a lot of excitement too, though. I'm very excited. I have a couple questions to start and then just a few comments. I just first want to clarify, we're talking about savings on some of our bond projects. That in that we're saving money because we went to a competitive bid and selected a qualified firm to do the work does not mean that the standards of whatever we're doing have slipped at all, correct?
That is correct. We've actually upped the standards. We're getting, Bob's done a great job of getting us these bids.
Something that we're seeing is 95% of the work is Pueblo contractors that have done our projects. They are being extremely competitive to keep that money in Pueblo. They're you know, I know of a couple that are actually reducing their labor rates to make sure that the jobs stay in Pueblo. So we're seeing savings in almost every project that we've had, and that reassurance going forward. We're over 50% through our bond projects that we're engaged in already. We only have 4 that exceed $1 million left. We're getting down into the much smaller projects for the remainder of this, and we're seeing great results from the local community and the local contractors.
Thank you for that clarification. I think, again, it's important to highlight the local component of that. So thank you for doing that again. But I think it's important to emphasize that nothing that we said was going to happen is being cut or changed or modified or a lower quality. It's all still high quality, state-of-the-art things that we're doing, and we're still able to save money.
Yes, and in most cases, even move above what was originally thought, like the VRF system going into PAW and South High School. Originally, it was just an HVAC system replacement, a like for like, and we were able to get the most efficient, best air quality system that you can possibly put in those buildings for that same bond fund amount.
And along those same lines, I latched onto something I think Mr. Lawson said, which maybe he didn't expect me to latch onto, but you said something about future savings too, that there's still a possibility as we progress through this that there will be savings on some of these projects or new projects that come along, and that we'll still have an opportunity to make improvements to other schools potentially.
Yes, we're looking 2 years down the road already. We know that there's savings coming. We know by the trends that we're seeing that we're going to be having more conversations in the future on things that we might be able to achieve.
Awesome. That's exciting too. Things that I'm excited about this particular proposal, it's a unique and new program. It's not taking away from anything that any of the great work that any of our existing schools are doing. It's a new opportunity, something new to engage our students and families that doesn't exist. So I'm excited that it's something new. I'm excited about the CTE pathway and matching up. I'm picturing this in my head of matching up from K through 8 in this school, then having these opportunities in our high schools that we have with CTE and being able to continue that track into that high school, and then the CTE that's at PCC and CSU Pueblo and in our local apprenticeships and the trades and all of the things that we have in our community, and what this bigger picture of this, what it would mean to Pueblo, the community, the state, in being able to have such interconnectedness in this program throughout the whole education, from K to college or to an apprenticeship or whatever comes after high school. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited that we have this property that's a couple blocks away from my house that is currently empty, that could have the potential to have a K-8 school on it. So thank you for being cognizant of where everything was heading and keeping track of our savings and our proceeds and our investments, and being able to present something that I think is outstanding for our community. Thank you all for that.
Ms. Clementi.
Well, thank you to my colleagues for all of their questions and excitement, all of which I share. Just a couple things. One, I appreciate getting the bond attorney's opinion, stating clearly that this is an appropriate use of the bond proceeds. So there's no question about that, which is exciting as well. I have a question that I know that many people in the community will be interested in, and it's and I'm hoping that at some point later on, you can bring to us, Mrs. Macaluso and Mrs. Maury, the board policy and the procedures and protocols for naming a new building. Just so that everybody knows how that's going to work. I believe when you say that this is will be a school of choice, that means that the boundaries won't be adjusted, and that all students will go through a choice process. If that's not right, I hope you'll set me straight.
That is correct, Board Member Clementi. That's what we're proposing now.
Okay, thank you. I'm excited about the expeditionary approach. It's very, very exciting, and one that that I've been always very, very interested in. So I'm glad to see that we can incorporate that and do it in a way that Mr. Farrell was so eloquently put, with the vertical articulation and the whole 9 yards, which is terrific. So let me just add my congratulations and my thanks for this presentation and the work that has gone on into this. This kind of work started 5 years ago with a new strategic plan, with a facilities planning document and study. And if I could just recap, this right now is possible because of careful construction management, bond premiums, which means somebody was paying attention to the market, and these bonds were sold at a premium for us, and investment proceeds. And all of this, to me, is a testament to the credibility and the quality and the long-term vision and planning that the district has focused on and spent lots of time, 5 years, getting to this point. And it's been sometimes a kind of a slog to get through some of those beginning stages, because it felt really, really difficult. But this is a tremendous culmination of all the work, most of which Mrs. Macaluso has gone on under your leadership, and the team and the teams that you have built. This is incredibly exciting. It's wonderful to see all of that backstory, all of that work that's gone on for the last 5 years come to some kind of really, really exciting and tangible fruition. Thank you.
For me, thinking back, I was heartbroken when we had to close Heroes. And I remember being at that hearing and walking out with Judge Mays, and somebody, one of the community members, came up to us and said, if I had millions of dollars, I would give it to you to save this school. And it was just clear from the very beginning how much that school meant to that community and to those kids. So I couldn't be more excited that those kids in that community are going to have a state-of-the-art building. I also couldn't be more excited about this educational model that we're talking about. I think it's something new and something innovative for the district, and that's something I'm really looking forward to. So I just want to echo my colleagues as well and say thank you to Superintendent Macaluso for your leadership. Thank you to the entire staff for all of your time and effort that you put in. And I feel like I keep saying this over and over again, but this is a big deal for our community and a big deal for D60. And I'm just glad I'm able to keep saying that. So thank you to everyone involved.
Thank you, President Voss. Thank you to all of our board members for your comments. I just want to say, I don't even have the words to express how exciting this is. And I'm in awe of my entire team. This is a total team effort. This has been a long journey. I don't know if everybody fully realizes the unprecedented opportunity that we have here. When we build schools, we build our community. And so the fact that we are able to build 5 new schools by 2023 is clearly unprecedented. Who does that? I'll tell you who does that. D60 does that. So this is a very, very proud moment for our district, and affirmations to my entire team. Board members, we would be asking for your support on an action item for the allocation of bond funds for the build of building number 5, as we affectionately call it. And we'll work on that name, Barb. Thanks for bringing that up.
Thank you, Superintendent Macaluso. With that, we'll move to the consent agenda. Are there any consent agenda items anyone would like to be removed to be voted on separately? Then I move that we approve consent agenda items 2 through 5.
Second.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote, please.
Ms. Clementi,
Aye.
Mr. Farrell,
Aye.
Judge Mays,
Aye.
Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Dr. Wright.
Aye.
And we'll move to 12.0 action items. Superintendent Macaluso.
Thank you, President Voss. At this time, I would ask for board members to consider and approve the following leadership appointments. That would be for Kim Kuda, who from elementary principal at Heritage Elementary, appointed to Executive Director of Elementary Education, effective July 1st, 2021.
Okay, and with that, I will move that we approve the superintendent's recommendation for administrative appointment as presented in today's board materials.
I second.
Any discussion? I'll call for the vote, please.
Ms. Clementi,
Aye.
Mr. Farrell,
Aye.
Judge Mays,
Aye.
Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Dr. Wright.
Aye.
And we'll move to our second action item. Superintendent Macaluso, do you want to say anything more about this one?
No, I don't. This is just the resolution, and so I would ask that the board adopt the resolution authorizing the allocation of bond funds to construct a K-8 school.
Okay. And I will move that we adopt the resolution authorizing the allocation of bond funds to construct a new K-8 school as presented in today's board materials.
Second.
Second.
I'll second.
We all
I'll
second.
second too.
All of us.
Yeah.
Any other discussion? I'll call the vote, please.
Mr. Baum, do we need to read that resolution into the record?
No, the resolution has been posted as part of the agenda and it was before the board. So as long as the board all know what they're voting on, I think that's sufficient.
Perfect. Thank you.
I'll call the vote, please.
Ms. Valenti,
Aye.
Mr. Farrell,
Aye.
Judge Mays,
Definitely.
Mr. Voss, Mr. Voss,
Aye.
Dr. Wright.
Aye.
Awesome. Well, is there anything else from the board?
If I could have just a second, President Voss,
Sure.
you know, what should not go unnoticed is during these difficult times that we've had, and because of the fabulous work by Mr. Horner and Mr. Lawson and Suzanne Maury and our great superintendent and all the people involved in this thing, we're going to be putting an additional $30 million back into the economy in Pueblo. And we've already heard that 90 to 95% of that is going to go into the pockets of people that were out there supporting our bond issue and are now doing the work to put these schools together. And so I you know, you talk about a win-win-win. That's the way it is.
Yeah,
and
that's right.
I'm just so excited. And I don't know, maybe Mr. Lawson and Mr. Horner can find us even some more money. They seem to be doing a pretty good job of turning 2 schools into 5. So thank you so much. I am really super excited.
Thank you for that, Judge Mays. Anything else? All right. Well, I think we'll adjourn on that high note. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.